now, we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, Plateau State Governor Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang is set to formally join the All Progressives Congress today, following his resignation from the People's Democratic Party. Governor Mutfwang, in a letter of resignation dated December 29, 2025, addressed to the ward chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Ampang West Ward, Mangu local government area, Governor Mutfwang formally announced his withdrawal from the party with immediate effect. Moving on to Bauchi State, where Governor Bala Mohammed and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, were on Thursday locked in a war of words over allegations of terrorism financing leveled against the Bauchi governor. Mohammed alleged a political witch hunt by President Bola Tinubu, adding that Wike was behind the terrorism financing charges filed against Bauchi State Commissioner for Finance, Yakubu Adamu, in which that's Mohammed's name featured. The EFCC had on Wednesday arraigned Adamu and 3 others for alleged terrorism financing to the tune of $9.7 million, with Governor Mohammed's name appearing in the charges. Mohammed described the terrorism financing allegation as unreasonable, saying Wike was behind the case. The governor went further to allege that there was a deliberate plan or plot to tarnish his name and integrity, including attempts to link him and his relatives to banditry and corruption. Moving on, the leadership of the National Assembly has moved to address public concerns over alleged discrepancies between the votes and proceedings of the legislature and the gazetted versions of recently passed tax acts. It has consequently directed the immediate release of the transmitted bills signed into law by President Bola Tinubu. In a press statement issued on Thursday, the National Assembly said the decision was taken in response to growing public debate and calls for transparency surrounding the tax legislation. It disclosed that the clerk to the National Assembly has been instructed to make available copies of the transmitted tax bills, including the certificate pages bearing presidential assent, to enable Nigerians independently verify the authenticity of the documents. Meanwhile, the African Democratic Congress ADC Youth Wing has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the federal government over what it described as controversial and unconstitutional provisions in the 2025 tax laws recently assented to by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Speaking during a press conference in Kano, its national youth leader, Comrade Balarabe Rufai, accused the federal government and the National Assembly of undermining democratic processes and imposing what he termed a fiscal extraction regime on Nigerians, particularly youths. Also, the National Association of Nigerian Students has begun mobilization of students nationwide to protest against the implementation of the tax laws. It declared January 14, 2026 as a National Day of Action against the implementation of the controversial tax reform law. Lending its voice to the discourse on the new tax laws, the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, is calling on the federal government to exercise restraint in the continuation of its reforms in taxation and other economic policies, warning that such decisions must not deepen hardship for those already struggling. The president of CAN, Archbishop Daniel Oko, in his New Year message titled A Call to Renewal, Restoration and Responsible Leadership in 2026, said the year behind was a difficult one for many Nigerians due to economic hardship, rising living costs, insecurity and uncertainty, which have placed enormous strain on families and communities. CAN affirms that progress must translate into lived realities, while economic advancement must be evident in the daily lives of citizens. Now, while many Nigerians welcomed the new year in celebration, residents of Bom community in the Mutfwang district of Jos South local government area, Plateau State, were thrown into mourning after a night attack left 9 people dead. Arise correspondent Douglas Francis compiled this report.
New Year Eve celebration in parts of Plateau State was shattered by violence when attackers struck one community in Jos South local government area late on December 31st. The incident occurred at about 11 p.m. as residents prepared to welcome 2026. At least 9 bodies were initially recovered, with search and rescue efforts continuing, raising fears that the death toll could climb. Local sources say the attack came despite earlier security alerts, warning that several communities in Jos South had been listed as potential targets. Former federal lawmaker Musa Bagus, who visited the community, condoled with the families of the victims, while calling on both the state and federal governments to prioritize security in the new year.
Very peaceful community. Chugui is very accommodating, and for this to have happened unprovoked, people celebrating the new year because it happened in the early hours of the morning, it's very quite unfortunate that you have 9 people being killed. And when we say that an act of genocide has happened here, some will argue against it. But these are facts. What has happened are very quite unfortunate.
Despite all security meetings and engagements that we had, we had series of meetings early December. Even now, we have distress calls, we have patrol teams on ground that we have mounted across all the security agencies and even fire service in case of fire outbreak. But to our greatest dismay, this ugly incident happened after putting in more effort and resources to ensure that our people celebrate Christmas and New Year safely.
The incident that happened yesterday night is a confirmation of Christian genocide in Nigeria and Plateau State in particular. Because the village in Buhum, all are members and a Christian community. There's no pagan, there's no Muslim. And what is the reason of attack?
At about 8-9 p.m. of 31st December 2025, when our people were preparing to commence the celebration of a new year, terrorist elements who have been on the plateau, who have been killing and committing a lot of mass atrocities.
The latest incident adds to a growing list of violent attacks on rural communities in Plateau State, heightening concerns over safety, particularly during festive periods meant for peace and celebration.
Very sad news there. Rufai, like I mentioned earlier, while some people were celebrating with fireworks, ushering in the new year, yesterday we were thanking God for the opportunity to see another year, but we had 9 people in Plateau State, just south a local government area, losing their lives, and many members of their family probably in turmoil and crying. That's the reality on ground. Beyond this, we also have the story, of course, developments. Finally, the Senate has called for a release by the clerk of the gazetted copy of the harmonized bill that was sent to the president for assent. And then, of course, amongst that, the other stories this morning, your take this morning.
I reminded you yesterday, it's going to be my year of brutal honesty.
Yes, please go ahead.
Look at what happened. Criminals killing Christians. Christian genocide. If I use that word, some people will behave like earthworm that we put salt on. They will scream because the truth is too hard for them to bear. They would even push propaganda. I'm happy we saw the corpse of the people being carried. So for Sheikh Gumi that said it was empty coffin, I don't know if you saw, I saw the face of one of the people that died. While the Red Cross was trying to carry the person, the cloth mistakenly pulled off the face. So I saw the face. And I'm sure all our audience too saw the face of a dead person this morning, like I did see. So for people like Sheikh Gumi that says empty caskets, has the effrontery to say it's empty cask. I'm sure he too sees it. In case he doesn't see it, they should play this for him. The third one I will say, that people will behave like earthworm, that they put salt on this. Nigeria happened to them. You will see. They will be running around when we say that. But the question is it not Nigeria happening to them? Because they will argue, if something is good, when something good happens, we can also say Nigeria happened to them. I don't have qualms with that. But is it not the country that they are putting their sovereignty, and they are giving their sovereignty to protect them, that cannot protect them? We are celebrating New Year. This is happening to them. Look at what happened in Ondo. Look at what happened in Ondo. Look at what happened in Kwara, the palace of the king. So when all of this happened, I will say President Tinubu has not done well in insecurity. Some people will come and they will start saying, no, you don't know what you're saying, Rufai. It's not good. He's done well. To make who happy? To make President Tinubu happy. Power that is transient. Somebody that even if he gets it, he will still live there one day. Why are we living our lives? Why can't we just speak the truth and purge ourselves? The second story, but look at the tax law. Now the National Assembly says they want to release harmonized copy. After 1 week of raising the matter, after ordering a gazette. So are we sure of what they are releasing? I mean, I'm not convinced. They have already passed the integrity threshold. Nobody can believe them again. After about a week, when we raised the matter at first, when Dansuki raised the matter, wasn't that the time to raise it? But you see, if you don't want to get anything done in Nigeria, you know what you first buy time. So the lower house first bought time by saying, let's set up a committee. If you don't want to get anything done in Nigeria, set up a committee. Then they say the committee will now sit for about 4 weeks. Then they have ordered the regazetting. Then all of a sudden they are saying they are ready to put it out. Why didn't you put it out immediately when people ask for it? So when you now put it out now, you've walked to the answer, you've looked at it, because we don't even know the parameters of which we are looking at. Yeah. So you are probably going to walk the parameters at the back, and like I keep saying, Ayo, the tax law is not a big. We had an upgrade on the tax law with the Finance Act in 2020. In fact, the Finance Act in 2020 that we had was one of the biggest upgrades since 1992-1993 when we had VAT at 5%. That was the Finance Act that increased VAT to 7.5%. We didn't have controversy back and forth. But this one is a controversy. When we talk now, some people say you don't know what you are saying and all of that. But you see, this year, I don't care. God sees my heart. The truth is constant. Even if it goes for so many years, it will come and meet the truth. As regards Bala Mohammed and Yes on Wiki, I mean, like the Yorubas, Ija Ololufeni is the fight of two lovers. Because when things were good amongst them, we were not there. All of a sudden, they are both fighting for the supremacy of their party. Bala Mohammed saying, no, Wiki is using the state machinery against him. Wiki is saying, go and face your problem. All of this is all for the PDPs because they don't agree. That's just it. Wiki has said he's going to pitch his tent with President Tinubu. Bala Mohammed is saying otherwise, let's save the soul of the party. They will fight, definitely. But see, all of them, look at them. The fight is never about the Nigerian people. It's about their own interest. So when they fight, lovers fight, now them too go settle now. And all of a sudden, Mr. Akpabio has come to say that he got an epiphany from a sermon in the church. All of a sudden, he says he's not doing court case again with Senator Akpoti.
No, with anybody.
With anybody.
He's
with all the people. It also involves Senator Akpoti. So, I mean, when they fight, like my friend Dele wrote him, they don't die in their war. We will keep speaking the truth here.
All right, Dr. Bati.
Okay, very quickly. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang declaring for the APC, that should not come as a surprise. It will increase the number of governors who have declared for the APC to 29, further reinforcing the concerns of persons who insist that we are moving gradually towards the emergence of a one-party state. However, the caveat is that where are the people of Nigeria? They will be the bulwark in terms of their right to choose, if that is allowed, against whatever manipulations, machinations other people are providing. Who is left? You have Alex Oti saying that he will remain in the Labour Party. You have Governor Ademola Adeleke saying he will be in the Accord Party. You have the governor of Oyo State saying he will remain in the People's Democratic Party. You have Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State saying he will remain in the PDP. Now, all the other governors, they're gone, one way or the other, to the APC. Even those who are not yet gone there, either in the North Central, well, the whole of North Central is gone to APC, the whole of South is gone. It's only in the Southeast that you have a lone voice, and then in the Northeast that you have a Bala Mohammed. Now, I think the context of it is the attempt that appears being made by the ruling party to go after those governors that are not yet compliant and who have been told to join the moving train of the All Progressives Congress and who have refused. And it is in that context that one, Bala Mohammed, who is our colleague, by the way, he started as a journalist at Triumph and, rose to become a star in public service, was in Senate, one of those people who fought for the doctrine of necessity to protect democracy in this country. And then since then, he's been having issues, and now he's governor. At a time, he was interrogated by the EFCC. And the point he is making is that he's been victimized because he has refused to follow the self-appointed master of Nigerian politics, a fellow called Nyesom Wike, who seems to be going yo-yo all over the territory. And then, of course, he says there will be crisis if anybody comes after him. Okay, the fact that he's governor, because he talked about immunity, does not mean that immunity is absolute. A sitting governor can be investigated. But he has now linked it to politics to say Wike is behind these travails. 9.7 million or billion dollars that they are talking about. If a state government takes 9.7 billion dollars, what will be left for development purposes in that particular state? So I find it a bit extraordinary. However, let the point be made that the EFCC, the DSS, may not prosecute a sitting governor, but those two institutions have the legal right to investigate a sitting governor. They even have the legal right to investigate even the president himself. So the issue cannot be about investigation, but this is something that has been politicized. Another governor that has been pushed into the eye of the storm. Again, incidentally, the same man is accusing Nyesom Wike. That's the governor of Oyo State. Now it was former Governor Fayose who brought up the issue that, Oyo State collected some money from the federal government, and why would Governor Makinde be criticizing the president of Nigeria? Now the Oyo State government has now come out to say, well, we were given 30 billion naira, but that 30 billion naira has not been touched because we were supposed to be given 50 billion. Some other states collected 150 billion. Some other states collected their 50 billion. Why the discrimination against Oyo State? But the matter will have died until, again, Wike, the same agent provocateur, showed up in the media chat and went after Governor Makinde. And the Oyo State government also has the right to defend itself. And the Oyo State government is saying, look, why were we discriminated against? What is good for the goose is good for the gander. If you say you are intervening as an APC government, then you should be fair to us and make sure that we get our due, allocation. And that the Oyo State government, the money has not even been touched. Now, here comes Mr. Fayose. Governor Fayose now says, okay, you must return that money with interest. So there's a lot that is unknown in terms of how the opposition is being treated by the ruling government of the day. And I don't think it looks very good that, those who have elected to stand firm and alone in the opposition are the ones being targeted. That, I think, is the issue. Now, as for the tax laws, my talk back, please. Yeah, as for the tax laws, the National Assembly now says the bills should be published. No, it's not the bills that should be published. What we're looking for, like looking for a pin in the haystack, is a harmonized copy of the bill. Most of the people who have come to this platform to speak, they will tell you, we have not seen the harmonized copy of the bill. Now, that speaks to irresponsibility, gross negligence. The National Assembly, under Section 4 of the Constitution, 1999, is to make laws for order, peace, and good government of Nigeria. So if they make a law, if there is a harmonized bill, we have a right to see it. Why is this harmonized bill disappearing like a pin in the haystack and nobody can see it? No, that's what they should produce, not what looks like manipulation of the Nigeria, and then ignorant analysts coming around to say, I have not seen the bill, but these are my conclusions. No, I don't like that kind of pseudo-intellectual analysis. Finally, as for the crisis in the Plateau, well, this is, again, a sober reminder that we still have a serious problem with insecurity. It is not a responsibility that can be outsourced by the Nigerian government. America knows it all. America will come and help us. No. The Nigerian government has a responsibility to protect the people. And in recent times, we have seen efforts, progress by the Nigerian military, going after the insurgents, the bandits, the terrorists in different parts of the country. Now, until the battle is won, they cannot give up. Particularly at this time, when it looks like we have entered the election season. There will be more challenges. The government must stand up and deal with those challenges.
All right, talking about dealing with challenges, I think I put that story side by side. The unfortunate killings have happened in Plateau State, just south local government area, Boom, to be exact, side by side with the opening story around the declaration of the governor of the same state from the PDP to the APC. And, sometimes you just look at some stories and it gives a sense of the quality of democracy, of politics that we play here in Nigeria. If you are looking at defection, a number of the governors who have defected have said that they're doing it, one, in the interest of their state, in the interest of their people. Some of them have said to align with the center so that the benefits can come to the state. But when you look at a state like Plateau State that has grappled and has been at the center, one of the key areas where there's been large, widespread insecurity, especially alongside Christian genocide, you wonder about the timing and about what the priority of the government is at the time. Yes, the governor, in response to the killings that happened on New Year's Eve, has put up some rules and regulations or policies in order to mitigate some of the security or insecurity challenges that they faced, banning night grazing and the likes. But at the forefront, and the conversation we're still having this morning, is politics. And so when it comes to governance in Nigeria, a lot of attention is paid to the politicking as opposed to what it means or the benefit for the people. And that's why, again and again, consistently, it has been said that democracy hasn't been favorable or governance hasn't been favorable to the people of Nigeria. Only yesterday, we were talking about what's happening in River State as well. Because of the politicking, the people in River State have not enjoyed to the maximum or to the full potential the benefits of governance. And so maybe the conversation should be more around the actions, activities of the governors themselves to do what is constitutionally demanded of them as being in power. Number one, security of lives and property. We talk about this a number of times and how, in many ways, the government has failed the people. And so we keep looking at, defection here and there, not based on ideology, not based on how it could truly benefit the people, but based on political calculations and machinations. We have talked about the challenges that the PDP currently faces in the Ekiti elections, for instance. The PDP candidate was not listed, so we understand the need for political survival and aligning with a party that would guarantee your political future. But can we, for once, as leaders, put the people at the center of decisions and decision making? I think this is a call for us this morning. We have talked about the issues in Plateau State, in Benue, the middle belt area of Nigeria for so long. In fact, we do not hear the voices of the leaders as loudly during this incident as when it's time for them to politique or argue or decide or begin to throw stones at one another. And that takes us to the story with the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, and Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, who is almost like the chief ambassador of the APC, even though he's still a card-carrying member of the PDP. A number of things which I think it's important. Yes, we've established the points that if anyone, any Nigerian, no Nigerian is above the law, any Nigerian is found or there's an allegation against any Nigerian, then there should be a full investigation process, and if found guilty, should face the full wrath of the law. But what we want to do is to avoid the danger of political witch hunt, whereby we silence the voice of the opposition using state tools. And this has been a consistent claim by the PDP, and unfortunately, the APC or the ruling that the government doesn't do itself much service by some of the news we've seen. And this is not peculiar to Nigeria. In recent times on the African continent, we have seen consistently how incumbent government use, either charge their opposition parties or lock them up prior to elections, just before elections, or just before the results are announced, in order to silence them. We've seen it in Tanzania. We've seen it especially in the eastern part of Africa. We've seen it in, where I think it was Chadema, who was a number of them acts of treason, and many times the penalty is death. Don't forget that terrorism financing, kidnapping and banditry can attract the maximum penalty of death as well in Nigeria. And so whilst we want to deal with the issue of insecurity, let it not be used as a political witch hunt, as we've seen in other African countries, to silence the voice of the opposition, making it almost impossible for us to have a vibrant democracy because the opposition is stifled, is silenced. In this particular government, there are people that have been named as being, complicit when it comes to terrorism and terrorism financing. We haven't seen an investigation in that. Where is the list that was released by Dubai around those who are financing terrorism? We haven't seen an investigation around that. Why is it that when you speak for the opposition or you're in the opposition, it then means that you are the greatest sinner? I'm not saying they should be left out. Everyone who is guilty should be brought to book. But what we're saying is that we cannot use state tools or use, to silence the voice of the opposition, as has been accused again and again. Moving on to, I believe that we had the story around... okay, maybe I'll just end here, because we'll be talking about the economy later on the show, and also looking at, yes, the tax laws and the rise of voices, dissenting voices, and students, National Association of Nigerian Students. We have coming out now the ADC Youth Wing, Christian Association of Nigeria, all with one voice around a fair deal for the Nigerian people and not pushing people who are already vulnerable and impoverished into further poverty. I do believe that this administration should listen to the cries of the people, especially because, as we've talked about again and again, there's a crisis of legitimacy around this particular law, based on the secrecy that has been around the harmonized copy of the law. So there are a number of issues here, and I know that, like we've also always said, that it's a continuous conversation. It is what we'll continue to debate, and hopefully this government will do right by the people by, number one, being accountable, by number one, being transparent as well.